a retired general manager from Punjab and Sindh Bank. Mr. J.S. Kochhar has given many great contributions in serving the society in a very fruitful manner. He has given almost 4 decades of his life in serving the banking industry. He has also been worked with debt as a debt tribunal registrar. Now after completing his age of superannuation, he was being retired from Punjab and Sindh Bank last year as a general manager in law and recovery. He has given major other contributions such as a GM Credit, Chief Vigilance Officer, First Appellate Authority under RTI Act, Zonal Head and Head of Staff Training Establishment. Now after attaining his superannuation, he is still contributing towards the society as he has started his independent legal practice, and also he is on taking up guest lectures at National Institute of Banking Studies and Corporate Management. So today we have got a golden opportunity to get his knowledge and experiences from his lifetime achievements. So for the topic for the session is roles and functionings of banks with special reference to Kingfisher scenario. But before commencing with the session, I would like to request Ms. Anchal to please felicitate Mr. J.S. Kochhar with the bouquet of flower. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anchal. Now I would like to request sir to please come to the dais and commence the session.
Friends, I am thankful to the Institute for having given me this opportunity of coming and interacting with you. Banking as on date offers a great potential for employment. Unless you understand what a bank is and how it functions, probably the impression remains that banking is just counting cash, taking money and giving away. And this is a question which I had faced when, after passing out my MBA in 73, when I joined a bank, people used to ask me, Mr. Kochhar, अगर आपको बैंक ही ज्वाइन करना था तो MBA करने की क्या जरूरत थी? And today I find heads of all big banks in India, they are MBAs, and that too not from ordinary institutes but reputed institutes like IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, and so that shows that how much professional competence is required in running the banking scenario. I'll be starting from zero level as to what is a bank, why there is a need for banking, and then we'll be coming up to the general principles of bank management, so that you can understand that banking is one field where all sort of intelligence and professional competence of various fields is required. Banking is a multidisciplinary institute where there is need for engineers, where there is need for IT people, where there is need for HR experts, where there is need for financial experts, business analysts, financial analysts. But before someone aims or tries to think of joining banking as a profession, one needs to convince himself or herself that it is indeed a place where you can really contribute for the society, for your own professional development, and add to your own satisfaction. Because in any job, personal satisfaction is a great thing. I have seen many people joining various jobs, getting great salaries, but then at the end of the day saying, "Maza nahi aata, this is no work. I am getting salary, but I am a frustrated lot." But banking is one place where you can draw lot of satisfaction. But before I start the topic, I like to make one request to all those present here, that when I am talking, and if you have any doubt whatsoever, please raise your hand and give the question. Maybe the point you have in my mind, in your mind, I may have already thought of covering in my lecture, but at least the moment a doubt comes to your mind, and you'll say, I'll just at least jot it down, so that at the end of the lecture, I'm sure that that point has not been left out. I was discussing with Anchalji a little while back that what is most difficult to answer in any lecture is what you think is a silly question. Because at that time, you can put the speaker also on his nerves. The speaker may also have to think what to reply. And at times it is also possible that the speaker may not have a reply, but at least his thinking process will continue. I tell you, about 3 years back, I was invited to a roundtable conference of management experts. And when we went there, we didn't know what the topic is. But all the people, they were experts from different fields. On the spot, the topic which they came out, they said, we have to discuss about effectiveness of Twitter as a marketing tool. And believe me, at that point of time, I had not heard of Twitter. Today, if I say somebody doesn't know it, everybody will laugh. But at that point of time, I really didn't know it. And I raised my hand and said that before you ask us to discuss this topic, please explain what a Twitter is, how it works, what is the concept. Because if that was not clear to me, the entire meeting would have been a useless exercise for me. Similarly, when I am discussing, and if somebody has a doubt what a bank is, then I speak for 2 hours or 3 hours, but you do not know what a bank is. At the end of the day, you will feel that you have not understood anything at all. Then what is the use of sitting here? And also remember, if you will not ask questions, then maybe I'll ask questions, because I'll assume that you have understood whatever I have said. So now, first of all, what a bank is. Why we need a bank? See, on these 2 corners I have written, one side I have written deficit units of economy, and other side I have written surplus units of economy. Among you, there may be a student sitting here who may be in need of 20,000 rupees, urgent need of 20,000 rupees. But not knowing how to manage it, from where to get it. He may be ready to pay some extra amount on that, some interest on that. And if somebody takes the initiative of asking how much surplus you are having, and maybe somebody is having 20 rupees surplus, somebody is having 1,000 surplus, one is having 80 rupees surplus, and if you total up, it may be 40,000. So maybe within this group, it is possible to manage the problem. But how? One would know whom to approach. If you are in need of funds, you cannot go on asking each and everybody, can you give me this money? So there is a need to institutionalize, to have an institution which works as a bridge between these two units. Those who need funds and those who have funds to spare, whom I will call surplus units. And believe me, it is possible that a very poor man may be coming in the category of surplus unit, because a man who is earning 5,000 rupees a month may be planning that he has to manage with 4,000. He'll cut his coat accordingly. He'll manage with 4,000, would like to leave 1,000 for a rainy day, or for the education of his or her children, or for the marriage, or to save for the marriage of his or her children, or to save for purchasing a house at a later stage. So that way, it is possible that one person who is earning 20 lakhs a month, he may be in the deficit category, because he may be needing 5 crores to start an industry. His need is to set up a factory and he needs 5 crores. Even if he is earning 20 lakhs a month, he is deficit of funds. He is in need of funds. He needs to borrow funds. But a person who is earning only 5,000 a month comes in the category of surplus. So this normally you cannot understand unless there is an institution who can work as a bridge between the two distinct units of economy. And it is the banks which fill up this gap. Now, how the banking is defined? Banking Regulation Act 1949 defines banking as to accept deposits for the purpose of giving loans and making investments. Accepting deposits for the purpose, I have told, purpose is giving loans and making investments. And to accept deposits from whom? Accepting deposits from public. Accepting deposits from public, that is the basic banking. Today when we go to bank and we see so many activities, at times we confuse what banking is. Just like any other business, profit always remains the driving force. And when the profit is not coming, one business tries to do some diversification. A retail businessman, a kirana shop, may start keeping some basic medicines if the demand is there in that locality for sale, may start keeping some confectionery items so that some extra profit comes. Similarly, banks also indulge in various such activities. Banks are selling gold, but that is not banking. That is a extra activity. They are selling insurance policies, but that is not basic banking. Those are extra activities. Because just like any other business, in banking also there are so many strains, and for survival banking also has to earn profits. But before we come to all these extra activities, firstly I like to concentrate on these two basic aspects of banking: accepting deposits and giving advances. Commercial banks in the present form, as we are seeing, came much later at stage. Earlier there used to be small setups like Shaukaras and all that, some Seth, those people who were managing. Formal banking, commercial banking came to India for the first time in 1770 when Bank of Hindustan was set up. These are no longer available now. These are defunct. I am telling you history in brief just to give an idea how the banking developed. After this, real development started in June 1806 when Bank of Calcutta was set up in Calcutta. Bank of Calcutta was set up. You see why Calcutta gained the importance everywhere? Because East India Company had first come to Calcutta, and it is from that place that the major commercialization and professionalism started. This Bank of Calcutta was then renamed as Bank of Bengal. Around that time, in the other presidency towns, what were the other presidency towns? Bombay and Madras. So Bank of Madras and Bank of Bombay were set up. Thereafter, a need was felt that why not have a bigger bank. These days also you see that wherever business is growing, small units are giving way to big units. Small units are merging, so that if you have a bigger unit, there is a better synergy, better impact of having better results. So these three banks were merged and it became the Imperial Bank of India. This brief history I am telling you only for information, because when we come to the management, that is where basically management students are involved. Because there we have to learn how to develop ourselves, how to take the decisions. This is Imperial Bank of India, and Meanwhile, some other princely states had set up their own banks. India was having many princely states. Some princely states, major princely states, there were 7 states who had set up their own banks. So in 1955, after independence, government thought of nationalizing them. And this Imperial Bank of India became State Bank of India. And those princely banks in different princely states, they became associate banks of the State Bank of India, like State Bank of Patiala, State Bank of Indore, State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Bikaner, Jaipur, State Bank of Travancore, State Bank of Saurashtra, State Bank of Indore. Even now consolidation talk is going on. State Bank of Indore and State Bank of Saurashtra has already been merged into State Bank of India. And efforts are on to merge other associate banks. And this way, at the time of nationalization, we had about more than 500 banks operating. Then the process of consolidations, mergers took place and number was reduced. And thereafter, in 1970, 1969, 1970, 14 banks which were having the major chunk of business were nationalized. Again in 1980, those of the private sector banks which had grown during those 10 years as major banks, those were also nationalized. Why these banks were nationalized? There were various important factors linked to it. Because banks, as we started with the talk, they are major source of managing the economy. They are taking deposits from surplus units of economy and giving loans to deficit units. But then, like any business, bank also thinks of its profits, its stability, its position to get back the loans, and government realized that in the process there are certain units of economy which are poor people who are not getting. Banks are becoming need fulfillers of the rich. And as our government was in a mode of socialism, they wanted to bridge the gaps between rich and poor. And for that the need was that the poor should be given opportunities of growth. If they get the opportunities of growth, then only the society can grow. One way is you give alms, give money, that will only spoil. That will only make them dependent. But if you give money as loan, then the people who know that they have to give back the money with some interest, they will put in their best, they will try to improve their capabilities, they will try to become better units of economy. Even of late you have seen, even in the education field, government is gradually withdrawing the subsidies and is encouraging education loans. Not that government cannot give free education, but if education loans are there, it increases the thinking process of the students that they have to develop themselves in a way that they have to become earning units at the earliest, because when they earn, they will pay back. So up to this stage, any question? If anybody doubt, there won't be much questions, but any doubt, because now I will be coming up to coming up with the general principles of banking management. Now, what is to be managed in a bank? First question, going again back to the initial definition. Function of bank is to accept deposits. And once I am getting deposits from you, it becomes my liability. Once I have taken money from you, I have taken 100 rupees from this person, 1000 rupees from this person. It's my duty to pay it back as and when you demand. So what I have to manage? I have to manage my liabilities. So one of the main functions of a bank is liabilities management, liability management. Whatever are my liabilities, I have to manage them. And now, while getting deposits, what should be my aim? As I told you that ultimate aim of any business is profit making. So when I am getting deposits from you, what should be my aim? To get deposits at low rate or high rate? At low rate. So I have to try to get deposits at low rates. But my asking is not enough. If I am not able to get deposits at low rate, I may have to increase the rate also. There was a time till about 2 years back, believe me, this function of fixing the rate of interest was decided by Reserve Bank of India. I will be discussing with you what is the role of the Reserve Bank. Reserve Bank, which is a regulator, they used to fix the rate of interest. So that means what was my management? What was my control? It means if I want to increase profit by reducing rate, I cannot. Because at that time, it was felt that banks were not professionally developed to a level where they can afford to have different rate of interest. Now, if one bank which is not able to give good service offers you the same rate of interest as other banks, probably you will prefer to go to a bank which gives you a better service. You will prefer to go to a bank which allows you to do all the operations from your laptop sitting at home rather than from a bank where you have to stand in queue. But if that bank, to compensate for those lack of technical services, is able to give you higher rate of interest, chances are you will go there. So along with this liability management, we also have to take care that as and when somebody demands the money,